Okay, so there has been a little bit of confusion as to how to properly operate Radionika. So I'm going to clear that up in this video. Here we go. So open the app. Obviously that's step one in anybody's books. We're going to select our target picture by hitting the target button. And we'll just do this for example. Now we're going to hit the trend. Now the target is what the object, person, place, or thing that you want to affect. The trend is the wish. As someone pointed out in other apps out there, they tend to put this as wish. Well, we're talking about a Radionik app, and since we're talking about the Radionik app, we're going to use the proper terminology, and the terminology is trend. So we're going to go in here. Let's just select random picture. This doesn't really have anything to do with it. I'm just doing this for demonstration. So conjure. So conjure, this is sort of to think of as the source of your broadcast, what you want to actually have, I don't know, as a contributor. So if you want to use the energy of the sun, you use the sun. If you want to use some other sigil, then use some other sigil, obviously. And, I don't know, there we go, Maslow's hierarchy. Then you're going to hit activate, and you're going to go over to your trend, and do the same thing. Enter as much about the target that fits in the box. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. So we're going to put, Bobby, Joe. And we could put, let's see, February 18th, 1963. And that's pretty good. That's pretty standard. If you really want to go further, you can go, let's see, Toronto, Ontario, if you happen to know where he lives, or something like that. Desired result, empowerment of self-actualization, just as an example. Now, somebody pointed out this is really complicated, but I fail to see how it's complicated if you can't take 30 seconds of your time to set it up. Well, then I don't know what you want from me, but I've literally made it about as simple and straightforward as possible. And I'm not making fun of anybody, it's just that I took a lot of time to make this app and make it easy for people to use because it should be easy. So, we save the target, and we save the intent, and then we hit energize, and that's it. That's all you have to do. That's pretty easy. So, here you can see it's actually really simple to use. It's not complicated whatsoever. It's just you actually have to put a little bit of thought into it, which is the whole point. If you don't put the thought into it, how do you expect to get a result from that? So that's about it. So there's the instructions for Radionika 2.0. And now on to other things. Okay, so on to Clementine Hydrosol, which is very good antioxidant as it comes from oranges. It's also very good for your skin when applied topically. But we're not applying it topically. We're making some OJ. So anyway, here it is in the chamber on the machine as I sort of described before. It's in the container, and because it's in the container in a different configuration, and we're not broadcasting the energy out, you can actually see that the wiring configuration is a bit different on this run. Now, as far as experimentation, I've done a lot of experiments with Bions in the past, so I won't rehash any of that right now. But it's basically running a 528 Hertz frequency at 20 volts of amplitude into the top of the container, being run around the surface of the container, and then it's coming out the other side, being discharged through the box back into the top of the container, which is remagnetized and then sends it through in a big giant loop. Meanwhile, the board underneath is actually conducting the biological accumulation of radioorganic energy throughout the entire process. So here you can see the container. We've got the hydrosol and the juice in it in the fridge right here. And we put that overnight just to keep it fresh. And then after that, it's put in this container to stay magnetized and structured. So it's my understanding that we've had some app crashes with Radionika 2.0. I did some digging into that, and apparently it is an update flaw with app web viewer. So I'm going to throw the link into the description that I found. It's a YouTube video, and that should help with that. Now at any other time, you may want to just try uninstalling and then reinstalling and then restarting the phone just to see if that works, because sometimes it's just something simple like that. I know, for example, that my phone is really full, so periodically from time to time I have to clear my browser cache, clear the data, go through all my apps, move them around, get rid of some. So it's just a very simple fix for you, and I hope that the gentleman that reached out to me, I hope you figured it out, because I really want people to use this app because it's great. It's inexpensive and it works really, really well from everything that I've seen so far and from my own testing. So awesome. Keep downloading, guys, because guys and girls and everybody else, keep downloading because it's a great app. It's not very expensive, and I've seen a lot of apps out there and they charge a lot of money sometimes, and I don't like that. At the end of the day, you got to make a little bit of money for yourself, for your time. But I've seen people doing, manifestation broadcasts or whatever they want to call them for, anywhere from 1,200 to 3,600 and up. You see Radionik's devices for, anywhere again from $300 to $5,000. And yeah, I'll be the first to admit that my setups aren't visually pleasing, I guess. But I don't make them to be visually pleasing. I make them to be effective, and that they are. So that being said, I just want people to play around with this, expand your horizons, do whatever you want with it as far as branching out and trying other things, because that's what we need. We need people with open minds that are willing to just play around with it, try things. And part of that is also making mistakes sometimes and then having to restart and do things all over. It's all part of the methodology, right, though? So anyway, I hope everybody that's using it is really enjoying it, and I hope you're all having a great day. Okay, so the last topic of the day. So structured water. There's a lot of conjecture around structured water, and I just want to clear this up a bit. So they did a bunch of experiments, and I have some links in the description if you want to read up on those any. But they did some experiments with lab rats that involved feeding them and then giving, well, obviously they're feeding them. They want them to be alive, at least until the end of the experiment. And then they also fed some of these rats magnetized or hexagonal or structured water. And so what happened is they were attempting to see if the magnetized water would have an effect on blood glucose uptake level, which it didn't, but they were able to find that the magnetized water was able to act as a free radical reducer. Now, for those of you who don't know what free radicals are, they're basically chunks of stuff that can't be broken down by your body, and then it sort of floats around in your bloodstream, and it can actually have very disastrous results eventually on your body, because some of them aren't shaped properly and they might rupture a cell wall, or they might go through a cell wall and damage it. But essentially it's just nasty stuff floating around inside your body that's a toxin. Think of it that way. And so they were able to find that it was sort of scavenging for this, or at least that it started the process of your own body scavenging for it, which is very, very cool. And this actually helped with repairing the DNA in the cells in your body, which is great. Now, going back a little bit further, we also know about the experiments run by Dr. Emoto, who did the clustered water experiments, the famous experiment where he froze water that he spoke to. He would say nice things to one, like, oh, you look beautiful, or you're ugly, or pardon me for saying so, but you could say things to the water like, go fuck yourself, and it would change the structure of the water. Now, this isn't really anything new. I'm trying to suppress laughing at science for a minute, because science is always saying these things are revolutionary, but we all know that what you say to yourself and what you say to others has an impact on how you feel, and how you feel has an impact on your body. And I happen to think that because a large part of your body is made out of water, that the water memory that's there, because this is what Dr. Emoto was able to demonstrate, is that water has memory. So that the water basically remembers the feeling that you put into it. So when you feel like crap and you're saying, oh God, I feel like crap, then you still feel like crap. And that's why I think in part you feel like crap. That's not the whole reason, but that's one of my theories. And so, yeah, he did the same with bowls of rice. And he found that the bowls of rice that he made positive affirmations to stayed fresher for longer than the ones that he didn't. And the ones that he didn't went bad. They smelled. They were really gross looking. And so basically it had an effect on it. And so the whole point of structuring this Clementine Hydrosol was to activate this potential in it. Now, if you do a Wikipedia search, you're going to find an article that just absolutely does not accept structured water whatsoever, which is kind of funny because of these experiments and the research studies that have been done. So don't always rely on Wikipedia for the most accurate information, because let's not forget, people can go in there and edit anything they want to anytime. So basically, what's going to happen with this water is it's going to be structured. And the reason I want to structure it is because the Bion material, or the proto-Bion material, whatever you want to call it, basically the remnants of broken down cells. So when I broke down the peelings, what happened is I would have broken some of the cell walls and some of the genetic material would spill out. And so what I want to do with this broadcast is sort of reassemble them into a more potent version of themselves. So this is done with alloptic energy, or radioergonomic energy as I call it, because it comes from orgonomy and it also comes from radionics, but it's a merger of both, and yet it's something completely different. Wrap your head around that one. So what's happening in this container is the water is maintaining this almost perfect structure. And if you read the Wikipedia article, one thing it talks about is that water only maintains this structure for a femtosecond. That's an extremely small amount of time with a lot of zeros. Now this is possible to extend it by keeping it in a weak magnetic field, which is the container that I showed you earlier, and as well as the magnetic field of the hybrid chamber itself. But this will actually somewhat maintain the structure, but we're not counting on that alone. What we're counting on is water memory, because we want the water to remember that. And in that way, when you ingest it, then it will sort of act as a domino effect, I guess I'd say, where the other water that you put it back into is then going to take on that structure, and it's going to stabilize the entire thing so that when you put it in your body, it's easy to digest. It goes right where it needs to go. So that's it about structured water. Dun, 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 dun. And probably the thing that nobody ever wants to wait till the end of the video for, but special announcement. Okay, so everybody sort of has an idea that I have made celestite. It's my was hint my newest formulation for orgonite. Thank you, Carl. But that is no longer the case. I actually have a new formulation here that is even more powerful, like as if I really need it to be more powerful, but hell yeah. So this new formulation I'm going to show you before I tell you what it's called. And there you go. You can see little copper specks in there, some aluminum specks, and a bunch of other stuff, which I'm not going to tell you what it is, since I already gave out my formula for celestite to 2 people. This is my baby. So this stuff actually is really freaking awesome. It's called Necromantium. The inspiration came from a couple people that I know. One of them is the Black Tower. because you bomb, buddy. And the other guy is Mr. Frank Hunter, or as I like to call him, Master Nebo, who has taught me so much stuff over the years and literally given me a treasure trove of stuff too. I really can't say enough. But I am saying thank you. And thank you to everybody that's been watching my videos. Thank you to everybody that's downloaded the app. And thank you to everybody that's going to download the app. And everybody that's just interested in this kind of thing in general. Because this is the way that we change things, people. You know, this is the way that we make a difference. We all have to sort of work together and figure out things together. And once we bring that into unity and we start forgetting all about this division stuff, we're going to really realize that just in the palm of our hands, we possess more power in an idea than any missile or gun could ever possibly have. This is Dr. Radionik, signing out from Lab 5.